the as you can see, that's a very unusual end.
Yeah, is it made of steel
It's
in the
stamped,
prototype?
it's stamped steel. According to the data I have read on it, the if you can see my cursor here, the middle panel, the bottom and the top are 1/4 inch thick. The middle is 3/16 inch thick. So it's a 3 panel end. Um, I don't know why they did that. I got no clue. Um, it's an overlap rivet, so it's a lap, what would be called a lap seam riveting on it. That's not a strap, that's lap seam. So there's a little edge here that was stamped into it. Only the C&O and the B&O had them, but there were 1,000 of them. So they were a fairly popular car.
Yeah, I'm thinking they were, you know, now they do that all the time with automobiles where they have all these ridges because they can use thinner metal and it's structurally sound because the ridges have strength to them. And maybe this was an early application of that.
Right. Anyway, I can't seem to get the B end to show up. So that's it, folks. The car exists in a model form, and I found some.
Very good. There sounds like they're not, like you say, they didn't make a lot of them because they weren't popular. I imagine a lot of people don't just figured it was some goofy knockoff, that it wasn't actually a prototypical end, but of course we know it is.
No doubt, no doubt. And I was expecting to see, because they are so unusual, I was expecting to see a separate listing on Intermountain's webpage, but they're in numeric order. So
Yeah.
well, the lady who works there, who I just enjoy talking to her a lot. She she goes, they are in numeric order. And I said, but the problem is I don't know what the numeric order is.
Right.
I don't know what the stock number is. She knew it right off the top of her head, and I
Oh,
found
wow.
them, and okay. But they are not being made again, I don't think. I
Yeah.
asked her, said, you planning on putting them out again? She goes, I seriously doubt that. And I said, oh, so it was a loser.
Yeah.
She's like, well, we don't call any of our cars losers. Just they take forever to sell.
Yeah. We don't want to.
Anyway,
Very good. Well, thanks, Ken. Ron, do you want to go next?
Try. I gotta find Rod's. Let's see. There it is. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, this is
Rod?
I'll just make a brief discussion. This is, what are you working on now? It's a staging yard. It's in essence a hidden staging yard. I started out with the center section, and I've been hand building from scratch all the turnouts and putting them in and learning as I go along, because I hadn't learned how to solder before, hadn't learned how to bend track, hadn't learned how to make the frog. So I had to make all my jigs. And so I've been working on building this yard. I started out with the center section, then added another section. Each of those panels are 4 feet, 2 by 4. So the whole thing now is 16 feet long. It's in my shop, but it's separable at that center section, so I can haul the 2 foot by 8 foot sections back to the layout. And right now I'm working on, as I found out, even though you can build a turnout, you can't build it really accurately. So, and everything gets twisted and turned as it gets inserted into the module. And then all the turnouts end up crossing the joints in the bench work or the base.
Yeah.
So, hinting from Maynard's presentation a month or so ago, I bought the Norton Stone. You can see that off to the right. And between using the test car from Micromark and the NMRA gauge, I'm now going back to every turnout and tweaking it and unsoldering, resoldering to get everything in alignment. So anyway, then I decided I'd purchased the Walther's turntable about 6-7 years ago, never even got to, so I'm now starting to install that too.
Yeah.
So anyway, like all the other modules, I will not hang this one from the ceiling, no. But I am planning, because of the different colors of ties and stuff, and I'm infilling with wood ties besides the Atlas Flex track.
Uh-huh.
So I'm planning to paint after I get it wired, I'll paint it, and then I probably will put in some kind of basic ballast of dirt.
I see you
But
got this. I see you got the super glue out too.
yes, I do everything with super glue. All the track gets anchored with super glue.
Okay.
So anyway, I will be turning it up on its edge to do all the wiring, so I can sit on my stool and just do all the wiring.
Yeah.
I've heard so much from all of you about how you hate to crawl under your layout, and I just second and third that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just an update of what I'm working on.
Very nice. It's a nice workshop.
Oh, thank you. I sent this to my brother, and he says, "What happened to you?" He said, "My architect brother used to be a messy guy." And I said, "Well, I caught his disease of cleaning up after everything."
Yeah. Hopefully I'll catch that one of these days.
Boy, that's the truth.
No, nobody will see me for a month when I do.
So, I don't have anything else to add. Just it's quite a journey, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How long were you working on that?
I've been working on it for about 4 weeks now,
Oh,
but that includes building each of the turnouts. There's 21 hand-built turnouts in there. And that alone, ended up, the first one took about 6 hours. The last one took about an hour. You certainly learn techniques as you're going along,
Oh, yeah.
but the journey sure is fun. So Ron, you can switch to another.
All right. Yeah, let me see here. I found something today that I'm going to bring out tomorrow, but I thought I would just pop it up for a minute here. Dave, have you ever been down into the area where Lowell is in Illinois?
Pardon?
Lowell, have you ever been down in that area?
I don't
Lowell,
think so.
Illinois?
No.
Well, this is I'll bring this up tomorrow. I'll send this out to everybody, but the Lowell and Southern Railroad was a small branch line that went to a brickyard. Unfortunately, there's not very good pictures on it, so I'm not going to use it, but it is an interesting, some interesting write-up. So you'll get that tomorrow. You don't need to spend any time thinking about it today, but.
well, I bet there was a bunch of branch lines like that over the years.
I know when I sent that out on the Milwaukee the other day, you commented, Dave.
Yeah, so that's in LaSalle County. So that would be in the area of the Illinois River.
Yes,
And that's a big area for sand, I know. So it's not surprising that there would be good clay for bricks.
well, I didn't realize that they also use shale. The shale that I know I didn't think was brick material, but apparently it is. Anyway, there'll be a little bit tomorrow, Saturday is the NMRA thing, and it'll end up on our website. But I'm not going to have it here on a Thursday night. Okay, so I got something else here, if you want to see it. I got to get rid of this, so I got to figure out how to get rid of this.
While Ron is doing there, I want to mention that on the internet in the last week, there's been a fantastic Google article on the construction of concrete and how the Romans made much stronger concrete than anybody else. and they've just finished the chemical analysis of Roman concrete. And the reason they did it is because they used hot lime to make the concrete. They heated it up. And so they're going to be now reinventing how they make concrete, because modern concrete doesn't last and it absorbs water. The Roman concrete that was used in the Colosseum and all those temples has never absorbed any water, and that's how they can survive for 2,000 or 3,000 years.
Well, Doug, there's still time, right?
Hey, Greg, how do I get out of here? How do I
Uh,
get off this?
you want to
Escape?
you want to close that?
I want to close this one.
Yeah, just hit Apple Q.
Well, actually, Greg, this afternoon, in the contractor, he was just had a portable mixer and was mixing up his own kind of dry mix for the footings. He wanted warm water to do that. So
okay, so
me
he's
as
already,
I'm, we're attached to the basement, I said, run a hose over to the utility sink.
there you go.
Yeah, he was using warm water to mix up his mix, so
Well, he's right up on the current technology then.
apparently,
Doug.
yeah. But yeah, I saw something online this week about the Romans and they were studying it. I didn't read it, so I didn't realize it was.
It really is worth a read. They were,
Well, I'll look into it because if that's a technology that we can adapt today, boy, that will prolong the life of highways, et cetera, in the future.
oh, absolutely. And it
Wow.
will also make buildings lighter because the concrete is that much stronger for just through
Sure.
a chemical analysis, they discovered this.
Yeah,
It's worth a read for everybody else. Just
okay.
look.
Yep, I'll do that. So,
Here we go.
hey, something right up my alley.
Well, the reason I did this was that hopefully we can do some more different industries. And I thought maybe somebody would have some comments on things that they thought it would be worthwhile exploring. So I've had this for a long time sitting there, and I just thought I would show it tonight and get what comments there is. So here we go. I got to get this square on the screen here though somehow.
Oh yeah, double click the top of that window.
I got everybody's up here. Everybody's oh, there, I got rid of that.
Well, I knew they collected cobs at Belle Plaine, but I never saw it, so that's,
You can just hit play there. I think that might work.
Guess this is not a PowerPoint. That's why I can't do a full screen.
no, Ron, go back to where you were. Scroll all the way to the bottom. No, where you had that menu pop up. You were at top to the left side somewhere, and you had a menu pop up. Were you on the word play? Or
Yeah, up here it says play, but
Play
no,
selection.
not.
There
oh,
you
guess what? We'll start over.
go.
Mhm.
That's great.
Okay, that was in Belle Plaine, and of course Tama had a bunch of them too. But Belle Plaine was real interesting because of they piled the cobs up so it looked like a mountain behind over there by the railroad track.
Mhm.
And this was down at Loden, and it shows the blower to blow the cobs into the Quaker Oats's cars. Those box cars were either leased or owned totally by them. They have an X on the reporting mark, so it's not a railroad car. Cob was big business back then, and there's still a lot of cobs from the seed corn industry.
Oh, yeah.
What's the time frame on that?
That
70s
has
or
to
something?
be late 80s, maybe
Okay.
90s.
All right.
I got a few coal sheds. This one has been totally rebuilt at Stewart, Illinois. I took a lot of pictures of that inside and out. So you could see how the doors were opened up and everybody shoveled the coal right in.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one up in Wisconsin. This one was on the Rock Island. You don't think of the Rock Island, did I say that right?
Yep.
Rock Island in Wisconsin?
Now, I can't see what's going on up there. I have a little bit of a sign there that I can't see my own. Yeah, the Rock Island did get up in that corner of Wisconsin.
No, the Illinois Central did.
That's what's wrong. I got the picture labeled wrong.
Okay.
See the advantage in showing this? You
Yeah.
Find the right answer. I'll change that. Here's another one at Sumner, Iowa. I think that bit was on the Great Western.
Yep, that would be Great Western.
I think that we don't do the stockyards correctly, especially if we have a packing house. I think that that's an ideal, that maybe not that picture, but I think that's ideal for the backdrop on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see so many models that have 4 pens and a half a dozen cows. And I'm going to tell you that wouldn't be 15 minutes worth of work for a packing house that go out of business in about a half hour. I mean, they had literally thousands of animals there to slaughter and hold till they
Yep.
could, they had to feed them sometimes 2 or 3 days before they would actually
Yep.
end up in the slaughterhouse.
The Decker plant tried to keep a day and a half supply on hand, and that was 12,000 hogs.
Wow.
So,
That's a
'Cause
lot of
they were-
pens.
yeah, they were doing about 5,000 hogs a day. So,
And you can see that the elevated walkway here, as almost all of the old packing houses brought the critter in up at the top floor,
mhm.
and that's where they were killed and then sent downwards.
Yep, gravity was their friend. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, this is at Berlin, Iowa, which what became Lincoln. And you may have seen this before, but that's a great picture there. I think I got that out of the Tama Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a little, a little building here for the hogs. A lot of hogs raised in Iowa.
Yep.
They generally, you don't see them out in open pens.
I like the 3 guys perched on the top of that fence.
Yeah,
yeah, you would have a wide plank across the top of the post so that, particularly the buyers and owners could stand up there outside of the muck and watch and observe. So,
I think there's probably some of that even on here. Yeah, notice how wide the top of the fences are.
Yeah.
Of course, every pen is numbered.
Well,
There's
you
a
got
guy
some guys-
standing there.
Yeah, they're sitting on the fence.
So here's this is out of the Northwestern book on ICC evaluations from 1920s. And I thought this was a particularly interesting one, showing all of the different things. I got to look and see what all is there. There's a water tank there and scales and a couple of sheds and there's, places for bins and stuff for feeding. And this one had was a very active one at Maple River, Iowa, I think it is, I'm sure. That's at the holding stockyard just outside of Chicago. And where they might have had to, because of the hours law, they might have had to remove all of the stock out of the car and rest it before we took it into the slaughterhouse. And freight docks is another thing. We haven't talked much about freight docks. This one down in Champaign this thing is not, it's not a rectangle. It's not a square. It's, I don't know whether you can tell it or not. I'll you try to show you what I can get. Can't even find the cursor here. I don't even know where it's at. Disappeared on me.
Well, there's a elevated portion that goes left from that traffic cone. And you can see a V notch just beyond it.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to point out. On the back side is a straight piece, but then there's this other one that goes to the left. It was a big platform. I guess the tracks came at it from two different directions. The one on the long end was the Illinois Central.
Ron, is that still there?
It may be. It was there in the 2000s.
Okay,
It's just north of the depot.
okay. We had one in Valpo that was similar to that. Lot of, it was not, like you said, wasn't square, wasn't rectangle, had angles.
Yeah. So I thought this was pretty, it's easy to find this picture, but showing how the cars were 4 cars and a box car. And you can see how the one has been lifted up already and the other one is about to go under. It's all going to be pushed in by hand. I think those might be
They're DeSotos or Dodges.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. 46, by the way, with that flared in fender on the door.
Very good.
I got one.
So Doug, well, I think Doug left, but these are some Jim Sands photos. He took lots of pictures up in Marshalltown. And this is a little salting tubs up in Marshalltown for cucumbers. All the years that I lived around there, I never knew there was that many cucumbers grown. And I've never seen this. I suspect it was probably gone by the 50s.
That freight dock is still in existence. It's on, you can see it on Google Earth.
Good.
Is that
Me.
to the right of that picture, is that some sort of elevated railroad track?
Let me see if I can get rid of it. On the right on my screen is the picture of all you guys. I don't know how to get rid of it.
It looks like something you'd see on a elevated railroad.
Well, there was no elevated railroad there, but
It-
there might have been something that
It
I
was,
could tell you what it is if I could get rid of it.
Probably a street bridge.
No, it's got a truck on it.
It's got a
You can
truck
see-
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can see the front of the truck.
I guess that's what it is then.
Yeah, you can see a truck just to the right of the building.
Oh, I see the bridge now that you're talking about. I see just a corner of it
Yeah.
in my screen.
You
Well,
can see a continuation between the two buildings too.
Yeah,
Yeah, over to the left, yeah.
yeah, it's a steel girder type arrangement.
There were two, that's the yards of the Northwestern and the M and St. L. Actually, the Northwestern didn't have much. That's mostly M and St. L. And that's why the big bridge across the yard.
Yeah, you can see boxcars between the buildings too.
Yeah. All right. Now I've managed to, oh, there, okay, there's another picture. And here are some new ones. This one on the right, the green tubs, those are over in Decatur, Michigan. I guess the wood tubs are about the thing of the past. Almost everything now is plastic tubs.
Yeah.
And notice that you can see the pickles on the right. There is no top on that. How many people have piggyback ramps? Notice
I've
this,
I've seen the ramps made of old flat cars, but usually they don't have them derailed like that.
I think they do. I was just gonna comment on that. I think that's a common way so that, the car doesn't move. But maybe you're right. The what pictures I've seen, and they're generally derailed.
Hmm.
They remove one truck, derail the other end. But there are not a lot of those. Those are pretty temporary, I think. Here's another one. This one is up at Waterloo. That's on the IC. That went away very quick. I mean, think about that. Almost every size of any town of any size had one. And within a few years, they were gone. There's another one at Iowa Falls, which is probably built even better than the other two we saw. A little bit of lumber yards. I think you may have seen these, the lumberyard ones.
Did somebody say that building is gone? I think you circulated that picture earlier and somebody said the last time I was in Dyersville, it was there, but somebody said that this is now been removed.
I think Greg probably did, or not Greg, but Doug. You know, Doug knows Iowa well, and I think it's probably true.
That's too bad.
I just
don't-
emailed Ron and Greg a screenshot of that loading dock for forwarding to everybody else.
I know this one in Apple Valley, Illinois is gone, and I wish I'd have took more pictures of it because you don't often see all of that lumber out there without doors or anything on it. And, you know, it's open to the weather. But the last time, when I went there about 3 years later, there was nothing there. That's an old one from Doug. I think we're gonna do something on creameries. This is a creamery in Tama, and they did not take milk. This was not a dairy. They bought cream and made it into butter. That's sour cream. And they bought eggs, and they bought old chickens to make, I guess, chicken soup out of. And here you can see their refrigerator car line. I tried to find that pictures in the worst sort of way. It would be a wonderful, good picture, but that came out of the newspaper. That's the best I could do. And a paper mill, might be another thing to cover sometime. Although Greg, you did paper mill, although
Mhm.
this one was a little different because they made egg case fillers out of straw and scrap paper opposed
Yeah.
to wood. They didn't get any wood there. Here's the track diagram of what's in there. And if I wish I could get the cursor going here, but at the bottom of the page is the Milwaukee track. In the middle of the page is a Northwestern track. And note how the Milwaukee track crosses within the industry, has two crossings in there. And that Milwaukee track continues across the creek and goes to an elevator and a lumberyard on the other side of the creek. Here's another building modelers normally don't have. I guess it would be make a pretty good building out of 3D printing now, wouldn't it? But that particular one's pretty good size. And Rod, I think you were with us when we were at Streeter. at this glass recycling plant?
Yes, I was. I went there with you and Willie
Yeah. And I
on the
guess
way
that's,
to an RPM meet.
I guess that's piles of ground glass in front. I think I want to do something on popcorn. I was kind of amazed at how big of the industry, popcorn industry was. I think Jolly Time is in Indiana. And of course, Iowa, maybe I'm wrong on that. Iowa is big in popcorn in the west of Boone area. There's a lot of popcorn growing over that way. Yeah, the popcorn in Indiana is more down south of Valparaiso. So here he's picking popcorn and a good picture of them taking it out of their truck and canning factories. That's another thing that would be interesting to talk about, except they're really basically a building. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of outside stuff. However, every canning factory would have a place to dump the truck dump. So this one's in Monterey, California, of course. And here's a couple of corn canning companies. Hoopston, Illinois is a big sweet corn canning company there. And I'm done.
Very nice.
Anybody, if you think that this would make anything an interesting, I'll call them clinics, whatever you want to call them, why? Tell me what you think would be interesting, and we'll try to come up with something.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron. Anybody else have anything they want to show today? All right. Well, we will call it a night then. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you again next week.
See you guys.
All right.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.